Larry was the kind of boy who always sat in the front seat of the class. He liked neat books, straight lines, and full stops. His shoes were always polished, his shirt tucked in, and his lunch packed carefully with 3 slices of bread, 2 pieces of meat, and 1 ripe banana. He believed life should be neat like that. Simple, clear, organized. His mother, Mrs. Aloka, loved him dearly. She would always say, "Larry, you are my rainbow." And Larry believed it. Everything in his little world made sense. His father was a quiet man who woke up early, drank his tea in peace, and read the newspaper with his glasses slipping down his nose. Nobody shouted in their house. Nobody slammed doors. If something was wrong, it was fixed quickly. Peace was normal. Larry believed everyone else should live like that. He believed that if he could understand things easily, then so should other people. To him, if someone was confused, it meant they were not paying attention. He couldn't understand why anyone would see things differently. In school, he had 3 close friends, Timmy, Peace, and Bolu. They laughed together during break time, shared groundnut snacks, and played catcher under the mango tree. Larry was always the leader. He made the rules. If they were playing football, he decided who played first. If they were drawing in class, he said which color they should use. He believed he was helping them, and they never complained, at least not at first. One Friday afternoon, during a group project, Peace suggested something different. "Let's draw the sky purple," she said with a big smile. "Like in the cartoon I watched." Larry frowned. "The sky is blue," he said firmly. "But this one is special," Peace explained. "It's a dream sky." "No," Larry said, shaking his head. "People will laugh at us. The sky is blue. That's the right way." Peace went quiet, and Bolu looked away. Timmy scratched his head and said nothing. Larry felt proud that he had corrected them. He believed he had done the right thing. At home, his older sister Amaka was his opposite. She loved singing in the rain, wearing mismatched socks, and eating dinner with her fingers. She laughed loudly, danced in front of mirrors, and made silly jokes with their dad. Larry didn't understand her. "Why can't you be normal?" he once asked her. She laughed. "What is normal, Larry?" Larry paused. He didn't know how to answer that. But deep inside he felt she was wrong. People should follow rules, shouldn't they? As time went on, Larry started noticing more things that didn't fit into his way of thinking. During morning assembly, some students whispered and giggled when the principal spoke. Larry would turn and give them sharp looks, shaking his head. When his seatmate in class, Miriam, made a small spelling mistake, he would grab her book and say, "That's not how you spell together. Fix it." One day, Miriam looked at him and said, "You're not my teacher, Larry." Larry blinked. It was the first time someone pushed back. It felt like someone had poked a small hole in his perfect balloon. He didn't like it. Later that day, he told his mother what Miriam said. "She doesn't like being corrected," he said. His mother smiled softly. "Maybe it's not what you said, Larry. Maybe it's how you said it." "But I was right," he insisted. "Yes, but being right doesn't mean others are wrong," she replied gently. "Sometimes people just see things in their own way." Larry didn't answer. He didn't like that idea. In church the next week, the pastor preached about understanding others. "Sometimes we listen to reply, not to understand," he said. Larry listened, arms folded. The words stayed in his mind, but they didn't sit comfortably. They poked at him. School, things started to change. Timmy began to spend more time with other boys who played rougher games. Bolu didn't always wait for Larry before eating lunch. Peace became quiet whenever Larry corrected her. One afternoon, during a science quiz, Larry whispered the answer to Timmy. But Timmy didn't write it down. "Why didn't you write it?" Larry asked later. "I had my own answer," Timmy said. "But mine was correct," Larry said. Timmy shrugged. "Maybe. But I wanted to try mine." Larry felt like something was breaking inside him. Why would his friend not trust him? At home, Amaka painted a big canvas in the living room. She used green to paint the sky and yellow for the trees. "That's not how colors work," Larry said. Amaka laughed. Who said so? It's not real, he muttered. It doesn't have to be, she smiled. Larry walked away. He didn't understand her world. He didn't want to. One night, while watching a movie with his parents, a character in the film made a strange choice. Larry frowned. Why would he do that? It makes no sense, he said. His father smiled. To you it doesn't. But maybe it does to him. Again Larry felt lost. Why was everyone saying these things? Weren't there clear answers? Right and wrong. Good and bad. At school the next week, a new girl joined their class. Her name was Adiz. She wore glasses and always smiled. During a group activity, she suggested building a house made of triangles. Larry laughed. That will fall down, he said. Adiz looked at him. Not if the base is strong. But that's not how real houses are built. Maybe not real ones, she said. But in my storybook, triangle houses are magical. Larry rolled his eyes, but their teacher clapped. Great imagination, Adiz. Something inside Larry felt confused and small. He had followed the rules, done everything right, but somehow Adiz got praise for being different. That evening, he sat alone in his room, looking at his neatly arranged books. He stared at the stack, hoping they would tell him something. But they were just books. When Amaka passed by, she knocked lightly and peeked in. You okay? Larry nodded. You know, she said, you can be neat and still allow mess sometimes. The world is not a ruler, it's a painting. Larry didn't answer. But her words floated in his mind all night. The next morning, Larry walked to school slowly. His bag felt heavier not because of books but because of thoughts. He wondered maybe for the first time if being right all the time really made people happy. Or if maybe, just maybe, people needed space to be different. He wasn't sure yet. But something had started shifting. Larry was no longer the quiet boy who only cared about straight lines and perfect answers. Something inside him had started to rumble, like thunder deep in the sky. He didn't like it. He wanted peace again. He wanted things to be easy. He wanted people to agree with him, to listen, to see things the way he did. But they didn't. Timmy now sat with other boys. Boys who liked noise, who made jokes during lessons, who drew cartoons in the back of their notebooks. One day, Larry went to sit with them during break time, but they were talking about something strange. Have you ever watched that scary cartoon? One boy asked. The one with the monster school. Yeah, Timmy said. It was funny. Larry frowned. That's not funny. It's silly and doesn't make sense. Monsters don't go to school. The boys laughed. It's just a cartoon, Larry. But what's the point of it if it doesn't teach anything? Timmy raised an eyebrow. Not everything has to teach something. Sometimes you just enjoy it. Larry stood up and walked away. He felt his chest get tight. He didn't like this new Timmy. The one who liked nonsense. Home things were also changing. Amaka had started writing a blog. Every week, she posted colorful pictures and long stories about her day. Sometimes she wrote about her dreams, her strange thoughts, even about their family. One afternoon, Larry saw a new post titled, "My little brother thinks he knows everything." He clicked it. It was about him. She wrote, "Larry is neat, smart, and kind. But sometimes he forgets that not everyone sees the world like he does. He wants everyone to walk his path, but we all have our own shoes." Larry's mouth went dry. He felt a hot sting behind his eyes. Why would she write that? He stormed to her room. "Why did you write about me?" Amaka looked up from her laptop. "Because it's true. You didn't ask me first. I didn't use your name. But everyone knows you're talking about me." Amaka sighed. "I'm sorry you're upset. But I wrote my truth." Larry shouted. "Your truth is wrong." Their mother came into the room, surprised. "What's going on here?" "He's angry I wrote a post," Amaka said calmly. "She said I think I know everything," Larry replied, his voice shaking. His mother looked at both of them. "Amaka, next time ask before writing about your brother. Larry, even if you don't like what she wrote, Maybe you can still try to understand why she felt that way. Again, that word. Understand. It was starting to sound like a punishment. School things got worse. During a class debate, Larry stood up confidently to speak about why rules make the world better. He spoke clearly. Without rules, there is confusion. If we all think differently, nothing will work. That's why we must all follow the same way. There is only one right path. When he finished, a few clapped politely. Then Peace stood up. I think rules are good, but not all the time. Sometimes we need to bend them to make space for people. If someone is sad and the rule says no talking, do we ignore them? No. We break the rule to show love. The whole class clapped. Larry sat down slowly, his heart cold. Teacher smiled. Very thoughtful, Peace. We need both order and compassion. Larry didn't clap. He stared at his notebook, the lines blurry now. At lunch he tried to eat, but his food tasted like paper. He was losing control. People were changing and he couldn't stop it. One weekend his uncle visited. Uncle Dozy was loud, funny, and full of stories. Everyone gathered in the living room to listen. He talked about his travels, the people he met, the strange food he ate. Larry raised his hand. But that's not safe. You shouldn't eat food from strangers. Uncle Dozy laughed. If I didn't, I wouldn't have tasted the best jollof rice in Ghana. But it could be dangerous. Life is full of risk, my boy, the uncle said kindly. If you only stay safe, you might never really live. Larry didn't smile. His world was rules. Safe path. Clear answers. But now, even adults were confusing him. He started pulling away. He stopped answering group chats. He read more and talked less. He began correcting people silently in his notebook, writing what they should have said, what they should have done. He was becoming a judge in his own little courtroom. One evening, his mother knocked on his door. Larry, let's talk. I'm fine, he replied. You're not. You're hurting, I can see it. He didn't answer. She came in and sat beside him. You think everyone should understand things like you do. But the world is not built like that. People are not the same. That doesn't make them wrong, Larry. Just different. He finally looked at her. But if I understand something, isn't it right to show others the correct way? She smiled softly. Yes, but not by force. People must walk their path. You can guide but not control. His eyes filled with tears. Why does it feel like everyone is leaving me behind? She pulled him close. Maybe they're not leaving. Maybe you just need to stop standing still. That night, Larry couldn't sleep. He stared at the ceiling and thought about all the moments he lost. Timmy's laughter, Peace's kindness, Amaka's stories. Maybe they hadn't changed. Maybe he had built walls too high for anyone to climb. At school the next day, Adiz came to him. I liked what you said during the debate, she smiled. He blinked. Really? Yes, you have a strong mind. But maybe you should listen with that same strength too. Larry nodded slowly. That was the first time someone didn't argue or avoid him. She just invited him. At home, he opened Amaka's blog again. This time he read her other posts. Posts about her fears, her dreams, her memories. He saw pieces of her he never looked at before. He left a comment. I understand now. Thank you for writing your truth. She replied minutes later. I'm proud of you. But the cracks were still there. His friendships were not the same. His trust was shaken. He felt like a stranger in a world he thought he understood. One morning, Timmy passed him a note in class. Football today. Larry smiled a little. He nodded. But when he got to the field, they had started without him. He stood at the edge, unsure. Adiz came beside him. Want to play something else? He nodded. They sat under the mango tree and drew silly houses with triangle roofs. He laughed. Felt new. But deep inside something was still breaking. Slow fear. What if people never see the world like he does? What if they never will? The world felt colder, even though the sun still rose. Larry no longer rushed to school, no longer corrected people every second. He still noticed when something was wrong, but he kept it inside now. He had learned to be quiet. But silence can feel like a heavy bag when you're carrying it alone. He had friends, but they were not as close as before. He had family, but he felt distant. And though he smiled sometimes, the joy he once carried like a lantern in his heart was growing dim. One Wednesday morning, their teacher gave them a task: to write an essay called "How I See the World." Larry's hand shook a little as he picked up his pen. He started writing. "I see the world like a puzzle. Every piece must fit. But I've learned that not all puzzles are the same. Some pieces are bent or soft or shaped like stars. And maybe that's okay." When the teacher read his essay to the class, the room was silent. It wasn't perfect. It wasn't sharp or clever. But it was honest. And for the first time, Larry didn't try to explain it. He let them feel whatever they wanted to feel. That evening, as he walked home, he found a broken mirror on the roadside. One half showed a tree. The other half showed the sky. The glass was cracked, and Larry could see his reflection inside the split. That's how he felt, split. At home, his father was in the living room reading a letter. His hands were shaking. His eyes looked tired. "What's wrong?" Larry asked. His father handed him the letter. It was from his company. His father had lost his job. Larry didn't know what to say. He had never seen his father look so small. Later that night, his mother and father argued behind the closed door. The words were soft, but the pain was loud. "We have savings," his mother whispered. "But it's not enough," his father replied. "Not for a Maka's school. Not for this house." Larry sat in the hallway, knees to his chest. His perfect home was falling apart. Few days later, Amaka came home late. Her eyes were red. She had been crying. She threw her bag on the floor and went to her room. Larry followed. She was sitting on the floor, looking at her old paintings. Torn papers, broken colors, dreams fading. "I got rejected again," she said without looking up. "Another art school said no." Larry sat beside her. "You're really good," he whispered. She looked at him. "That's not how the world sees it." He didn't know what to say. For once, he didn't try to fix it. He just sat there, holding the silence gently between them. 1 week later, something terrible happened. Their teacher, Mrs. Nwoke, passed away. It was sudden. Car crash. One moment she was there, smiling in class, correcting homework. The next she was gone. The school held a small memorial. Flowers were placed on her desk. Students cried. Even the principal couldn't hold back his tears. Larry stood still. He remembered how she used to say, "We are all learning. Even me." He hadn't understood it then. But now he did. After the service, he sat under the mango tree alone. Peace came and sat beside him. "She believed in you, you know," she said. Larry nodded. "I never told her thank you," he whispered. "You still can. Just not with words." That night, he wrote a letter to Mrs. Nwoke and folded it neatly. He placed it in her old drawer the next day. No one saw him. No one needed to. But something inside him moved, like a small light flickering in the dark. Time passed, and his family started packing. They were moving to a smaller house. The big one was too expensive now. Amaka had taken a job at a bakery. Their father was still searching. One morning, Larry looked around his old room. The neat books, the organized desk, quiet walls, no longer felt like home. As they drove away from the house, Larry watched through the window. He didn't cry. But inside, it felt like he was saying goodbye to something more than just a building. He was saying goodbye to the old version of himself. The new house was smaller. Cracked walls. No compound. One bathroom. But it had something the old house didn't. Honesty. Everyone was raw now. No mask. No pretending. One evening, their mother served gari and okra soup. It wasn't enough. But nobody complained. They just ate slowly together. Amaka looked at Larry. "You okay?" He nodded. "I don't know everything." She smiled. "That's okay. Later that night, Larry stood in front of the small mirror in their new bathroom. He looked at his face. Older, quieter, softer. He whispered to the mirror, "I don't need to be right. I just want to be understood. And I want to understand too." He breathed deeply. But just as he turned to leave, he heard something. His phone buzzed. Message from Timmy. "Miss the old days. Let's talk." Larry smiled. Maybe not everything was lost. But just as hope touched his heart, another message came from Bolu. "Why did you always think we were wrong, Larry? That hurt us." His smile faded. He stared at the screen. For a moment, he thought about defending himself, explaining, writing long paragraphs. But he didn't. He simply typed, "I'm sorry. I really am." There was no reply. That night, as he lay in bed, his eyes open in the dark, Larry thought about all the people he had tried to change, all the voices he had shut down, all the colors he had tried to erase. And for the first time in his life, he whispered the hardest truth. "Maybe I wasn't right. Maybe I was just afraid of being different." He closed his eyes. Sleep didn't come quickly, but it came. And in his dream he saw a puzzle, pieces of all shapes and colors. None of them fit at first. But slowly, as he stepped back and stopped forcing them, they found their place on their own. And it was beautiful. Broken, but beautiful. If you have not subscribed to my channel, you might not hear my voice again. But if you are, then you are growing every day. Check my page for more interesting stories. Thanks for watching.